A cleared parcel of land in the middle of an established suburb represents opportunity on a couple of levels. It's a chance to start from scratch, to use the space in a way that suits the homeowner's lifestyle and priorities in a very specific way. But importantly, this can happen within the existing urban landscape, where the lessons on how to build and live within this environment can be considered. The success of the new design will very much depend on how receptive the owners and their architect are to the context around them. Situated in Whitegum Valley, a neighbouring suburb to Fremantle, parents of two, Joel Barker and Hannah Pannell, completed the build of their beautiful family home in 2021. Wow, you really have made the most of every square metre.
Yeah, we've packed it in, that's for sure. So we've got our veggie beds here, and this last one we've turned into a sandpit for the kids, and as they get older we'll make that into another vegetable garden.
That's fantastic, all squeezed in.
Yeah, it fits in.
Despite the small block size, the garden still feels really spacious.
Yeah, so we've got about twice the amount of garden space to house, so 260 square metres of garden space and about 110 square metres of livable areas inside.
How has the surrounding suburb of Whitegum Valley influenced the design?
So Whitegum Valley has a lot of beautiful, mature, established trees. We're lucky enough to have a few of them here on the property. And it also has a really rich history of Italian and Greek immigrants who have brought all their knowledge of gardening and producing edible food from their small spaces. And we've tried to incorporate some of those plant species that you see a lot, like the olives and grapevines and fig trees.
Our brief to ourselves was trying to have more garden than house, essentially.
Joel and I both grew up just loving gardens, and we always wanted to have our own garden for our family to live in and just use every day. So everything about the house is really connected to the garden, and every consideration that we made when we were designing the footprint of the house was to maximise how much garden we had. So sometimes we thought, well, maybe this room could be a bit bigger, and then we thought, but then we'll lose a foot of our garden. So we made it smaller again. And I think we have never regretted that. Yeah, we just love having that space out there.
How involved were you both in the design process?
So we are both landscape architects, and even though we usually work in the landscape, we thought we'd try our hands at designing this house. We had an architect who helped us with details, but we basically designed the spaces just to work for our family. Our goal was to just keep things as small as possible for what we needed.
The big thing for us was obviously the connection to the garden itself, but also having a healthy house and not compromising on that in terms of its sustainability.
It's a solar passive house. The orientation is really important, so most of our glazing is either south or north orientated, and the main focus are these big windows behind us. In the winter, the sun comes through those big windows and heats the concrete floor, and then that keeps the house warm for the whole day. In the summer, we have an eave that hangs over the windows that stops that high summer sun from penetrating the glazing and keeps the space lovely and cool.
What were some of the design moves to keep this home nice and compact but not feeling squishy?
So the windows are really important. They really open up the space and make it feel a lot bigger than it really is. And the high ceilings play a big role in that as well. Even though the floor plan is small, you have a real sense of space when you walk in the door. We're a bit greedy when it comes to plants, so it gives the garden a full feeling and it makes it feel, I think, maybe bigger than it really is.
But the structure of the garden has really been determined by the existing trees here on site, so the 2 melaleucas and the 2 eucalypts that we have. And they sort of set the framework of where we put planting, and obviously that's been fantastic in terms of protecting and providing shade throughout the hotter months. And then we sort of work all the garden beds around that area.
All the plants are really chosen for their textures and colours, so we are interested in individual specimens, but we're really looking at it as a palette and how all of those different leaf types and the colours of the foliage work together, as well as the flowers in some seasons. But it's a garden that works whether it's flowering or not.
It is a little bit wild, so we have things growing into each other, like the butterfly bushes and the salvias, for example, and the lamandras, which fill out. And they sort of provide a lot of movement through the garden, whereas we've got sort of more structured and permanent plants, such as the westringias, that kind of hold the whole thing together a bit.
And how has the design of the landscape complemented the performance of the home as far as solar passive performance?
Yeah, so we've obviously got the silver birch and the grape, which are deciduous. So in the winter, that really helps that winter sun permeate through the glazing and onto the slab, which is a remarkable difference. And then obviously, during the hotter months, we've got these fantastic trees which provide that level of protection. So yeah, it's sort of twofold working that together.
How much water does this garden need?
We're lucky enough to have a bore here, which has helped certainly to establish the plants. So the garden's about 2.5 years old. Yeah, so
we have drip irrigation everywhere, so that reduces the water wastage, I guess. It keeps things as efficient as possible. We've also used gravel in a lot of places to help with that water infiltration, particularly on the driveway, so that when we have a big rain event, all the water just infiltrates before it gets to the house.
Which cuts down on our irrigation requirements, but it's also replenishing the water table as well.
We just get so much pleasure from having our garden, and the house is less work because there's just not as much of it, There's more time to be out in the garden.
I think also that we really haven't had to compromise in the way that some people who are doing more traditional ways of building or on bigger properties might think that we have. So I think that's been a real pleasant surprise for us. We were clear about what our objectives in building and growing the garden were, but to be able to get that benefit of it every day has been really rewarding for us.
This is an absolutely stunning home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's just been designed and executed so beautifully. What does that feel like? I mean, this is a big achievement.
Thank you. I don't know, we do feel very lucky to be here, and I think it's something that we enjoy every day. We are just really grateful to be able to raise the kids here and, I don't know, just watch the garden evolving over time and watch the kids growing up in it too. Yeah, it's wonderful.